Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, the People's Champ, Tim Keck. And today, we have a very special guest. She is a longtime guest to the show. She hasn't been on for a while, but the people have been demanding her return. And we are people of the people. So she is back. It's Lauren Moore. Lauren, thanks for joining us.
Yay.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Oh my God, of course. We couldn't do this one without you.
Thank you.
It's good. I mean, this movie's great. Lauren, what are your thoughts on Puss in Boots?
I was so pleasantly surprised. I mean, I had a lot of people just in my periphery telling me that it was good and better than you would think it would be, but I still had kind of like medium expectations, and it exceeded those. It's a really fun watch. I liked it a lot.
It's great. I think it's great. I think it's like up there with Shrek as just, I think anyone can watch it and enjoy it and take something away from it.
Yes.
And I was surprised too. I was pleasantly surprised at how good and watchable it is. And it's tight. It's like an hour 40, 90 minutes. I mean, you're in and out. There's no downtime. This is great. This is just a good movie.
It cooks. A lot happens. It stands alone, which I like for something that's part of a larger, like, I guess, franchise or whatever you want to call it. I like that I haven't watched. Yeah, the Shrekverse.
Shrek fries.
I don't know really. I think there are other Puss in Boots movies. I'm not really sure. I don't know the Puss in Boots lore other than when he shows up in the Shrek movies, but doesn't matter. I mean, it's still completely watchable just on its own. And I loved it.
For sure. Yeah, it's funny you mention that because this one was recommended by a friend of ours, Alex Moore. And shout out Alex. And one of the things he specifically mentioned is that you don't need to see the original Puss in Boots to enjoy this movie, which I appreciate because I don't think the original Puss in Boots is supposed to be good.
I don't think it is. It doesn't seem like it. I think so the animation for this is a little weird. I kind of love it.
Yeah.
And for the fight scenes especially, it felt weird, but also in a way that I really liked. I think the first Puss in Boots was done more like Shrek. But I could also be making that up too. I don't know. What do you guys think of the animation for this? Like pro, against? Is it a downgrade from what we expect from Shrek?
Your high Shrek expectations?
My high Shrek expectations.
I think it exceeds, like, I like the direction they're going. I don't know if they've, in my opinion, like hit it. Like, I feel like it was a lot of like, oh, look what Spider-Verse did. Let's like play too. And I don't know that it was different enough. For me, in my opinion, it was just a little bit too similar. And I did find the like slower frame rate in the action sequences a little distracting. I didn't quite understand it. I'm open to have it explained to me, the intent, because I don't really know. But that's kind of my point, is that it wasn't really clear to me why that was done. But overall, I like that they're trying stuff and they're trying to do stuff a little different, even if it is clearly inspired by Spider-Verse. I generally like the, like, let's try new things approach. So I don't know that it's like, wow, they really nailed it. But I'm excited to see where they would go having done this, and like what they learned from this experience, where they come at the other side of it is kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. It feels like the Spider-Verse style animation was obviously just a huge shot across the bow for all animation in the United States and abroad. And a lot of this does feel derivative of that, which is a shame because it so specifically worked for Spider-Verse. Like being able to animate things on the twos and slow down the frame rate really worked to sell the idea that these are comics panels that are coming together to, be portrayed on the movie screen. And a similar thing for Mitchell's versus the Machines, where it feels like they took that Spider-Verse energy, but it wasn't explicitly as derivative of Spider-Verse. And they were doing a lot of other things with that seemed to have a lot more of like an internet energy to it that reflects Katie's personal backstory and what's important to her and what her sense of humor is. So you get a lot of like GIF looping and all that kind of stuff. In this one, it's interesting because they do seem to have such a locked in idea of who this Puss in Boots character is. And the character is so much fun that it feels like a shame that they didn't necessarily find a unique animation style that brings out who Puss in Boots is in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it would have been cool. I was kind of wondering, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a concept designer or anything, but like, I wonder if they had gone more in a direction of like, instead of comic book kind of feel, which is what it read to me, as if maybe, I don't know, I was thinking because it's like fairy tale fable, if that was what they were trying to convey, like make it, I don't know, not collage style, but make it look more maybe like the illustrations you would see in like old timey things. I don't know.
Pop-up book or something?
Pardon?
Like a pop-up book or like a...
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. So I don't know what that would look like as far as like motion, the style of the motion, but like, I feel like I would have been more impressed with something like that was a little bit more like unique to this specifically. But I still, again, I'm glad that they tried something beyond what they had done in the past instead of just repeating the same style. I think I'm generally in favor of that.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who doesn't know anything about animation, I liked it. The fighting reminded me of an anime, especially the final fight with Death.
Yeah,
it seemed very intentional. It's like the two of them running at each other. They do the dual slice thing where, you know, one guy lands and is hurt and the other guy's not, or whatever it is. I mean, it felt, every fight feels big and epic and dangerous in a really great way. And the line between the classic Brendan Mulligan, like XY axis of comedy is like, whatever, you know, the funny thing is you got to go back to the grounded thing all the time. And this is Zorro as a cat. And as much as they Zorro, that's how much they cat. And it is incredible in the fight scenes. That's a really
good way to put it. I love that. Yeah.
To see the combination of this. It's great. The way they incorporate it. Honestly, I'm a sucker for it. Anytime they're doing these, like he meows or like, I don't know, does a cat thing as a bad guy or not as a fighter. It makes sense. The scenes where he's like trying to go through people's legs and stuff. Incredible. Jumping all over the place.
I loved the cat physicalities as a cat owner. It was like there were certain things that they really just got right. And I loved it.
Oh my God. When he's lapping up milk at the bar.
Yeah. So that was a really good moment.
They do kind of a similar thing with, if you will, the XY axis of how cool the fight scenes are and how funny the physicality is. Because I remember the first fight that he has against Death. There's a moment where he is just kind of like cartwheeling in the air at him. Mm-hmm. But it's in the midst of a bunch of really cool shots. Like some of the best action scenes that we've seen this year are in this movie. And to see him then like, he's got like a cocky grin on his face and he's just like head over tail cartwheeling at this guy. It's super fun.
Even him fighting the giant at the beginning is like awesome. As soon as it opened, really I was like, smart. I could watch him fight forever. Really, you know?
That was such a great way to open the movie and to be entertaining, to show us the character, remind us of him if we haven't seen him in a while, or introduce him for people who don't know who he is, and to show, you know, how good he is at this, how confident he is, everything about his personality, to then make it so much more worthwhile when he finally does get that slice and drop the first speck of blood and everything, to make the villain compelling and interesting and scary. I mean, that coupled with all the things they did with like the heart thumping and seeing him actually be scared when we've never really seen him be truly scared. Like, I thought it was so effective.
His look when he's scared is so good. It's incredible.
You feel for him because he's just a little kitty.
He's just a little kitty cat. Honestly, the funniest Puss in Boots thing in Shrek. What is it? Shrek 2, where he's like, there's like bad guys chasing them. And he's like, this is where I make my stand. Go ahead. And he's like, yeah. And he's like ready to do this like Zorro thing. He's like, this is where I make my stand. And then immediately takes off his hat and hits them with the big cat eyes. I'm just like, so and all the soldiers are just like, aw. And then he puts the hat back on and starts fighting them. I'm like, that is it's so funny. It's so weird and specifically unique to this character and this bit. I love it. Yeah. And they do a similar
figured out.
it feels like a similar contrast with him being scared too, where it just changes so quickly. And you see the hair stand up on his legs or on his body, and just instantly there's just real genuine fear of this thing that was legit scary. I mean, there's a lot of scary stuff in there. It seems like a pretty adult themes too.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So I think if we want to dive right into Beefs and Thieves, because it sounds like we got a lot of thieves on this one. This may be the biggest one for all three of us. Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
He was so incredible.
He's great.
I mean, what do you even, how do you even, first off, it's so funny that they straight up got Zorro. Like as a standalone joke in Shrek, incredible that they got Zorro. And then the fact that he gets to do this other franchise. Yeah. It's amazing.
Not only is he doing it, he excels at it. I mean, he's one of my favorite like voice actors for a character in an animated movie. He does it so well. The way he delivers different lines, there's so much rhythm and it's dynamic. There's so much texture. I mean, the way that he said gazpacho the first time, clearly, I don't know if that was like written to be a joke throughout the movie or if it was just like the way he delivered it. And then the animators like latched onto it because it kind of feels like that regardless of what it actually was, because it's like, you could have fun with it. There's so much in his line deliveries that you could have fun with as an animator, I'm assuming. So it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so rich. I love it.
I just watched him in Expendables 3. He's like, Antonio Banderas pops up and he's so goofy and he's like annoying. He like talks too much and everyone's annoyed by him. And he's played like the coolest characters ever. And he's a huge badass in this. And then he's like annoying and then he's funny. I feel like he can do anything. He's so cool. Seems like such a rad dude. And in this, he's incredible. He's really good in this. I'm going to go right to my beef, though. I think it pairs well with this. Salma Hayek, fine. Salma Hayek's okay. What I would have loved, and the whole time I was just thinking how great it would have been to get Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Tim,
how do they not make it happen?
Oh.
Yes.
How do they not make it happen? Just straight up run back Zorro and Elena. And just do it. Just do the damn thing. Like they must have talked to her about it. She must have been the first choice.
How did it not happen?
I don't know.
I didn't think crazy. About that. That's a good note, though. I liked Salma Hayek. I didn't really have a problem with her. I think for me, I was most disappointed as a huge Florence Pugh fan. I was a little disappointed in her performance, to be honest, because she didn't. I mean, especially when we're just talking about Antonio Banderas, who gives so much. Like, I feel like she was pretty like mid-level, which I guess was a good contrast to some of the other characters who were like a lot. But like, I don't know. I feel like props to the animators again. I feel like they did a really good job in some like situations where like her line delivery was like pretty flat, and they did so much with the character to make it more exciting. Cause once I like heard her voice, I was so excited. As a huge fan of hers, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. She's like knocked every role out of the park. And then this one for her, like wasn't bad, but it was just like, okay. So that was my beef, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if I even noticed, cause I just was so in on her character and like this bit. I think my thief is just, I love the it's like in the other XY axis of like, just using these like myths and things that we're familiar with and these old stories and these fables, and then putting them in quote unquote reality and grounding them as like this thing. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And to see Goldilocks as a villain, kind of with three bears that have adopted her and taken her in, and then they keep doing the just right thing. I'm such a sucker for it. I think it's so fun. It's so cool. I think John Mulaney's guy, Jack Horner, incredible. Such a good villain. It's so funny that they take it's not even a fairy tale. It's like it's a limerick or something. He says,
rhyme, yeah.
It's a nursery rhyme. And they take him and just flush him out as like such a full and complete character. And then he's got this bag that he's just pulling out miscellaneous weapons from, and they all have different stories behind him in his whole room. I mean, it's just paraphernalia from like every different story and all these different connections. And I love that. I love that they were able to pull all those things in, make references, and somehow it makes sense. Somehow it makes sense that he has a crossbow loaded with unicorn horns that cause the bad guy to explode in like a flowery like mess.
They do a lot and you don't question it. You're just like, I mean, I was on board with everything immediately. And they had a lot of pieces that I feel like they juggled really well. While I was watching, I was kind of like, this is a lot of characters. This is going to feel like too much. Like, and I was kind of thinking about it. And I feel like nowadays so many movies have way too many characters and there's like at least one, maybe two that you could probably cut. And I like to try and like think and figure out who that would be. And in this movie with so many characters, I was like, who would I cut? And I feel like they balanced it really well. There were a lot, but they all had motivations and they were all interesting and distinct and funny. And they didn't step on each other. So I feel like they threaded the needle very well. And I think that's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is incredible. I lost my mind when they showed the group that were the chefs that were
the Baker's Dozen,
the mercenaries. Yeah, when they named them the Baker's Dozen, I just my brain just exploded. But the weapons, you can ask Lauren. I was on the couch, like pointing out the weapons and being like, "It's an axe, but it's a cheese grater." Like, are you fucking kidding me?
It was so good. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So creative and not in like a way that I get it's easy to kind of get fatigued with different animated movies where it's like so punny and cutesy that you're like, okay, like it still felt like fresh and funny and like just creative in a way that's like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the puns and things are visual. So it's like, it's just so cool.
Or even just like they took every opportunity they could where like there was, I forget why, but I just remember one little moment where there was like a broom in the background that was magic. And just the way that it like, you like walked off the screen made me laugh so hard. Like, I feel like they took every opportunity that they possibly could and used it. Like nothing went to waste in this.
Yeah. Oh my God. Some of the stuff too. The character's name is Ethical Bug. We looked up the voice.
That was a
guy named Kevin McCann, who's an animation producer. We were racking our brains the whole time trying to figure out who was doing it because this guy was crushing it. The idea of having a Jiminy Cricket that is effectively voiced by Jimmy Stewart, it's so smart that I was going back through my brain like, wait, did he do this? Like, has he voiced Jiminy Cricket?
It feels like he does. Like it's so funny.
I mean, it's incredible. It's like
it's that perfect, like my favorite type of like humorous impression of something where it's clearly not actually them. Like it's not so good that you're just like, it's them. It's like, it's a fun parody version where that's so much more fun, I think.
Yeah, he was great. And he has the great line at the end, like, now it's time to talk about ethical business practices.
And they didn't overuse him. Like they didn't run it too far. They did it just right.
Yeah. We're not going to end up with an Ethical Bug spinoff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hopefully.
Any other thieves?
I don't know if it's a thief, but one thing I do want to say that I also liked that they did well was I loved with the map when they did the like changing how it looked for each character. Few things I liked that they went the route of, they show the like gloomy, scary, spooky animated scene of like hellish landscape. And then they show, the little dogs like version and it's like sunny and happy. And then that's the one they kind of stick with the longest, which I thought was really fun because that's not something we've seen before. And then to play with that and have you think it's going to be like easy and cute and then have it actually still be difficult to go through was fun. Like, I feel like this whole movie was very good at subverting expectations and showing us something new, which I really appreciated. So there was that. And then I have a question for both of you.
Oh.
How did you interpret the part where Goldilocks kind of gets a hold of the map and then is like finds herself in her home with the bears and like that becomes an obstacle in and of itself? Like, what did that mean to you?
I thought it was interesting that she saw it as an obstacle. And it's weird how that is like her childhood home. She's got so many good memories here. And the whole time I was kind of thinking, it's an obstacle because she needs to I think at that point, you don't really understand that that's kind of where they reveal that her wish is to have a human family. so it took me a while to think about that as an obstacle. I thought it was initially like an obstacle of comfort, and
Me
like maybe they'd
too.
lost their home and they were searching for this thing, because it feels very clear that they're a family for each other. And then yet she views them and their house and their way of life and the life they've been living as an obstacle to get to this, I don't know, magical parents that, she's never met or seen or whatever. And I understand that too. I thought it's kind of, there's so much you could take so much out of this movie, genuinely. Like, it's just an adoption story, and like a lot of this is found family, but this is straight up they adopt an orphan, and the orphan is like looking for external validation, and then ultimately realizes that the love they have is better than the love that's like out there, that they missed out. They didn't miss out on anything. They already have a loving family in it. So I thought it was really beautiful. Honestly, her story was great. I couldn't get enough of it. Is that the obstacle thing? Am I missing anything?
I think, I just want to toss this in. I was keeping an eye out for it because I did clock that was what she wanted early, like uncharacteristically early for me. I'm usually a mark for this kind of stuff for way longer, but for some reason I pinned that was where Goldilocks was going. And I want to go back and watch it to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that when the map changes on her, everybody else's map has 3 stages you have to go through to get to the wishing star. But when the map changes on her, the house is the only obstacle, because I think the bears themselves are the 3 stages that she has to go through.
Oh.
So effectively, like her relationships with each bear would then become the obstacle. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great read, that like having to overcome this is going to be harder than anything else that she's going to face.
Yeah, I found that really powerful and relatable, and just, I don't know. I thought there's different ways you can read it, I think. So, I was just curious what you thought.
On that wonderful note, I have a question for you both. The great Jimmy V once said, to me, there are 3 things we should all do every day. Number 1 is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number 2 is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number 3 is you should have your emotions move to tears. Could be happiness or joy, but think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. Was Puss in Boots a heck of a day for you two? Was it? Because I'll say it was a heck of a day for me. I definitely teared up a little bit. All the Goldilocks stuff and her family, and we are so sad to be losing you, but it's more important for us that you're happy and then you have everything you need, that we are willing to sacrifice ourselves for this thing that would ultimately mean you leaving us. Beautiful. I love that stuff. So good. I mean, even the death stuff, the idea of the wolf following him around. I mean, man, there was so much to think about in this movie too. And dealing with that, coming to grips with your humanity and like your mortality and dealing with all of that. And God, it's funny. It's funny. I mean, it's at all the quadrants for me. All 3 Jimmy V quadrants. This is a heck of a day, in my opinion.
I agree. I'm trying to remember if there was a moment that got me like more emotional, teary, happy, sad, whatever version. And I think I remember it, but I don't remember which part specifically. But I know I definitely felt like true fear for Puss when he was scared of death. Like, I'm still so surprised that was as effective as it was. And I mean, definitely laughed out loud several times. What was the other one? Laugh, think. Definitely made me think. There was so much to think about. So much of it was relatable. It was really interesting to see a character in a like family oriented movie, dealing with like the whole like retirement arc. That some of our parents are going through. Like, I feel like you don't see that in a lot of anything really. So that was like refreshing to see, and also funny. And like, I thought they did that really well. So it covered so much in such a tight, like small amount of time. It's just impressive. There's a lot to think about. And I think, like Kevin said, I think there's value to rewatching it and picking up stuff that we probably missed.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's a heck of a day from Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, heck of a day.
I got to give it a heck of a day too. I don't know that I
first heck of a day.
I don't know that I actually cried, but I was definitely moved to the point. Like I was very emotionally moved.
Yeah.
One part that sticks out in particular is when we realized that one of the times that they mentioned, one of the things that went bad when he didn't show up for Kitty Softpaws was their wedding day. And they don't go too far into it. We just see him on the hill and we hear that there was a priest in a church. And it's like, oh my God. And then they go and flip it on us that she wasn't there either. Nobody does that. Incredible. Yeah. Like, wow. Just amazing. They're in full command of this thing. Heck of a day for sure.
Yeah, that move's crazy too, because it's like such an impactful moment in his life that has impacted, everything going forward. And it clearly is something he thinks about and haunts him. And they figure out a way to somehow turn it into not as bad of a thing, but without declawing it entirely. Use a cat pun. Like, it's still impactful and sad, and he made a choice. But then he finds out that actually, she made the same choice. So it wasn't as mean and hurtful, and they can actually like start over and have a relationship with someone who should have been Catherine Zeta-Jones.
It's amazing. It's somehow there's a lesson in that too. And thinking about your regrets. I do want to bring back one category. We used to have a category called reckless speculation. In this case, I think our only option is to call it reckless shrekulation. They drop a clear hint at the end of this movie that we're headed towards some sort of an Infinity War or Endgame involving the Shrek universe. What do both of you think is going to happen in this massive crossover finale?
I was like, what are the other things crossing over? But this reminds me too of the Dreamworld opening. Did you guys like the Dreamworld opening? It was a real show of IP. You didn't say, like, at the very beginning of the movie.
I did not like that.
Oh,
no.
yeah, no.
I hated it. I hated it.
Is that their Avengers War, like Endgame War nod? Like, hey, all of these people are going to be showing up. I don't remember who else was in it, but I don't think they were all the same property.
It was all DreamWorks stuff. And I haven't seen all the DreamWorks movies, so maybe it just doesn't stick with me like it does with people who have. But I feel like just because Marvel does it, like, we don't have to all do what Marvel and Disney are doing. I'm, again, to use the word like fatigued. I'm fatigued by all of these things copying each other, and just let your work speak for itself. It doesn't all have to be a universe.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would argue it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
How much of a universe do you really think it is, though? Because he was just in Shrek too. Like, why couldn't they just make another Shrek and he's there?
The Shrek area, like, it is a universe. It's like all the fairy tales. Like, that makes sense. But like, trolls don't need to be there,
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I'm looking at a thing for DreamWorks 10 movie collection. And the characters on this are the Croods, Shrek and Donkey, some trolls, Spirit, the horse. Don't recognize that, but it's an abominable snowman. Kung Fu Panda's on here. How to Train Your Dragon. The Madagascar animals, and the fucking Boss Baby. I don't want to see Boss Baby meet Puss in Boots.
Boss Baby from the intro got me so good. Oh my God, so stupid. What a dumb thing to do. DreamWorks crazy. Flexing that baby genius IP.
They don't go together. It's I have the same.
How to Train Your Dragon?
I like that. I like that movie. That one could, but like,
what was the one before that?
Kung Fu Panda could be fun.
Kung Fu Panda? What if Kung Fu Panda showed up? I mean, it doesn't even work for the world, really. But
we don't need to force it. It's like when people get, like, I have the same critique with like people who talk about Pixar movies all being in the same universe, and it's like that doesn't make sense. Like, stop. Like, why would you have cars that talk in the same world? Like, let's just let them be their own thing. They don't have to all be the same.
You're right. The idea of Shrek and Kung Fu Panda together, I'm like, what would they even talk about? But it kind of just makes me want to watch Kung Fu Panda again. I don't know. Kung Fu Panda's sick. That's a heck of a day, Kung Fu Panda. Oh my damn it. Bless up, Poe. Jack Black holding it down. So what do you think, Kev? What do you think is going to happen in this next thing? This next
only
iteration?
thing that I could see happening, and I gotta say, I don't think I've seen all the Shreks. There's probably a good amount of Shrek stuff, like Shrek Lord, that I'm not up on. But is do it the German way. There's let's see. So Neil Gaiman wrote a book called American Gods, and the premise of it is like a really fucking crazy concept where the physical manifestation of old world gods, like, you know, Thor and Odin, are coming into conflict with physical manifestations of what our gods of the 21st century are, like, which are a lot more conceptual. So like television and like, I don't know, the internet.
Yeah.
So there's like a really weird, I never watched the show. I cannot fathom what this looks like as a TV show, like with a TV show budget. But the climax of that book is like this giant war between the old gods and the new gods. And it's like, he's describing like the, you know, the manifestation of the internet, like slaughtering something else. And it's just, I don't know what the fuck that would look like. But maybe you do that with the Shrek universe because it's fairy tales. So whatever the newer version of fairy tales would be.
That'd be cool.
I guess would be, I don't know, like TikTok. It just seems like a bad idea.
What about they do a big game version, like the Mark Miller verse, and it's just like Kung Fu Panda comes in and is like hunting all of them down or something like that. God. Like Kung Fu Panda is in a one situation. You ever see that Jet Li movie where it's like there's like the same amount of energy like contained in every version of you across every reality. So if you kill somebody else, kill yourself in another reality, you get stronger and all of yous get stronger. So his whole quest is to kill everyone, every version of him in every timeline so that he could be the one. I'm picturing that with Kung Fu Panda, and like he gets more magic, the more magical creatures he takes out. That could be great.
So sick.
Honestly, you should watch the one.
So as he's killing versions of himself, though, all the versions of himself that he's killing are also getting stronger, right?
Yes.
Like the magic's concentrating in each of them.
Yes, it is.
It's
great.
So sick.
So he's getting stronger and his enemies are getting stronger. Pretty fun.
Oh,
speaking of stronger, Kevin, bigger, faster, stronger. Got an important question for you. Is Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, better or worse than Mitchell's vs. the Machines? Lauren, you thinking? What do you think, Kevin?
That's tough. I think I personally like Mitchell's versus the Machines more, but that's tough. I don't. Oh man, this is a really super solid movie. I don't know. Ooh, I could be swayed either way. Probably they're pretty neck and neck, I would say.
Wow.
But I did like that. Like I was saying earlier, Mitchell's versus the Machines felt like they were doing something more new and unique, which I appreciated. So I feel like that's what puts it over the line for me.
Okay, Lauren's for Mitchell's. Kevin, where you at?
Boy, yeah, I think this movie has more emotional depth than Mitchell's versus the Machine.
Yeah.
I think it's got more breadth than Mitchell's versus the Machines too. But gut check is telling me Mitchell's versus the Machines. And that might just be because it was such a bright spot during pandemic movie watching.
That too, yeah.
So like timing has got to be important here. But, you know, the gut wants what the gut wants. And the gut wants Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Puss in Boots, Last Wish, another victim of COVID. Could have been better if it came out during.
And I'm tired of you saying that they can't.
I haven't seen it yet. Let's see. You ever seen a cat cough? Actually, I have. I've seen cats cough, so it's possible.
It's called a hairball.
It's actually
that's fun.
One of the biggest things about cats.
Isn't it crazy? They just throw up all the time. Look at them being fun. Puss in Boots. Yeah, really in the middle of one of those fights, you could have gotten overexcited or ate too fast and then just like puked up a hairball. I'm sure they've done the hairball joke in this.
They have done that joke before, and I appreciate them not repeating jokes too much. Like even the like cute eyes thing, when they started to do it, I was like, okay, we're doing this again. But they pulled it off. I thought they were able to still make it fun and cute.
Yeah. It was very
it was fun to see even in the climax, Perito doesn't do it well right away. Like
yes, and he does do it, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I appreciated that a ton.
What'd you think of Perito?
Funny.
I did not think I was going to like him. When they introduced him, I didn't like him. I thought he was annoying, and I know he's supposed to be, but it was like a little too much. And then, I mean, by the end, I was like won over, I guess. Definitely not my favorite character. That was the one quick on the chopping block when I was thinking early on, okay, who could we cut? Who could we cut? But then they quickly made it clear the importance of him. So I changed my mind pretty quickly. They won me over, but
And the most
definitely not my
tragic
favorite.
backstory.
Yeah.
He's like
that
happily
was
telling
funny.
a story about being put in a sack with a brick and thrown in a river. And he's like,
That
yeah,
was really
that
well
great.
done, though.
And I met you guys. It's so good. There's some dark stuff in here, man.
See, that's the stuff they did very well, where it was fresh, it was new. Like I wish the look of it and the design of the animation felt as fresh as a lot of that stuff did.
Yeah,
for sure.
Maybe we'll get it right in Big Game Shrek. Shrek the One.
Big Game
Kung Fu
Shrek.
Panda 4 the One.
Oh my God. What did you think? Did you think this movie was better than Mitchell's vs. the Machines? Or are you one of those people who still haven't seen Mitchell's vs. the Machines? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. Nerdy is spelled out. 4 is spelled out. 30 is the number 30. We will be back here again next week with something. I can't remember if we're doing Silent Night first or if we're doing Godzilla -1. We'll figure it out. But we'll see you next week. And until then, stay nerdy, everybody. Lauren, thanks for joining.
Thanks
Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.